This video is all about how you can massively amplify your executive presence by learning to feel, to create emotional connections between you and the people and the space around you. I know it sounds a little woo-woo, but this is a secret weapon. And if you're doing this and your competitors aren't, you're going to eat their lunch. My name is Brent Michael Phillips. I am an MIT-trained software engineer, turned video game entrepreneur, turned energy healer and spiritual teacher, turned executive coach. And I've created this video as number 6 of 8 in our series on executive presence. In today's video, we're going to focus on how do we open up to feeling? In other words, how do we create a greater emotional connection with ourselves, with the people around us, and the very space around us? And I totally get it if this sounds a little woo-woo. If your background is technology, business, things like that, you may think, oh God, who is this crazy guy, right? Well, my background is in exactly that. I'm a software engineer. I got a whole bunch of degrees from MIT. You can see some of them on the wall behind me. And my life was destroyed by a horrible crisis in the 90s. I lost multi-million-dollar companies. I ended up being put on lifetime disability with soul-crushing chronic pain when I was just 27. And the only way I could recover my life was to learn the things that I'm teaching you here. And please, just know you don't have to believe anything because I'm saying it. Try it and see what happens. Imagine an athlete in the 1960s being told, hey man, if you improve your nutrition, you'll be a better athlete. A lot of them would have laughed. People thought it really didn't matter what you ate. Just don't be fat and you'll be fine. Now we know different. In the modern world, in the 21st century, every high-level athlete, every professional, every Olympian takes into consideration their diet and nutrition for optimum performance. If you know it and your competitor doesn't, you will crush them. You will eat your lunch. That's why they call me the tech exec's secret weapon. So how do we do this? How do you open up to feeling, to more connection? Now, admittedly, this is the most esoteric, the most challenging of these aspects of presence to cultivate. But I'm going to do the best I can here to at least aim you in the right direction so you can start to open up more. And so, have you ever known someone that was just really great to be around? They were fun, they were energizing, they were passionate, and you wanted to just hang out with them? I'm sure you have. Maybe you're like that. If you are, awesome. That's what we're looking to create here. And what it comes down to is when we're open emotionally and we can create connections not only with people but the space around us, life nourishes us. It gives us opportunity. It energizes us. But if we're disconnected, if we live in the mind, if we have mental illness, drug addiction, a major physical issue, we get isolated and disconnected. And it's not really your fault, but if that's what's happened, you have to reverse it, right? It's kind of like saying, hey, I really want to play in the NBA, but I can't shoot a basketball. Okay, get to work, buddy, right? Get a coach. Start learning. And so many people, especially in engineering and technology, have a challenge with this. That when I was growing up, I didn't know it at the time. I had undiagnosed high-functioning autism, and I had a hell of a time in grammar school and junior high. I got picked on, I got beat up, I didn't have a lot of friends, I was the outcast. I mean, heck, I remember in junior high, not even the goths and the emos wanted me. I was too weird even for them. And what it came down to was simple. I was very shut down. A lot of it was my parents. Don't need to get into it, but let's just say I had kind of the perfect storm of crap parenting to set me up for failure in life. And I had to learn to reverse engineer it and figure it out. And I did. And that's what I'm here to tell you. That when you're cut off, isolated, living in the mind, it shuts down that life force. You may remember from the other videos, we talked that roughly life force is kind of like water flowing through a pipe. That one, the size of the pipe matters, right? That's your mindset, your attitude, your paradigm. The pipe also has to be clear of blockages, That's clearing the subconscious through hypnosis or NLP or different forms of energy healing. But there's also the question of how much water is being put through the pipe. That's your emotional connection. That's the presence in the body. In the earlier video, we talked about movement. Part of it, to get more consciousness in your body, to get more connected to life force, to people, to the space around you, part of it is active movement. That was the focus of one of the earlier videos. And this video is the opposite. This is about the stillness, the silence. And so, quite simply, how do you open up to make a connection? How do you be open to people? Again, if you've had the experience of being around people you really like, you want to be with them, that's what you need. Imagine you come in to pitch investors and you're very open and everyone feels connected to you. They're going to want to work with you. It's not a guarantee. Just like when I was single and dating, learning pickup, there was a couple times I approached a woman, we had a great conversation, and then 20 minutes in, she's like, oh, Brent, you're such a cool guy, but I'm married, or I'm a lesbian or something, right? So this is not a guarantee that you'll be successful every time. But if you keep at it, you will. Just like that cool, competent guy at the bar. Just like if you got a company, an idea, a product, a patent, you may not get accepted by everyone, but if you keep at it, you will find the right person, the right executives, the right investors, the right legal staff, the right investment bank, all these things. And so how do we do it? Stillness and silence. I know, that's unfulfilling, right? I'm going to explain, but that's the essence of it. Here's how I would put it, is that imagine you're driving your car and you're going 40 miles an hour. What are the different ways you can come to a stop? Well, there's really two primary ways. Number one is step on the brake. That'll work, but it does require effort and it does create friction and energy in the brake pads. So, it's not a perfect metaphor, but you can step on the brake or you just take your foot off the gas. And effortlessly, friction will slow your car. And so what I want you to take away is this. In order to be open to have that ability to connect with people so they can feel you, so they will like you, want to give you money, want to work for you, want to hire you, all you have to do is stop doing all these things that's pushing them away. The challenge is for most people, they're not aware of what they're doing that's pushing people away. This is why it's hard. And so there's all these little things we do. You can see it in body language. You can see it in posture. You can see it in the tone of your voice. There's all these little things we do that push people away. Have you ever tried to talk to someone? Maybe you're just being friendly at the line at the grocery store. And you ask someone, hey man, did you see the game the other day? And they're all, no. Well, that's like, get away, right? Versus, oh no. You see the difference? That's what I'm talking about. There's all these little things that show up in the tone of our voice, our body language, our posture, how we relate to people. And it's pretty simple. You just got to stop doing these things that are pushing people away. But most of them, to you at least, are invisible and unconscious. And this is why we all need a guide. I'm so grateful to have had the master teacher show up in my life because I couldn't have done this on my own. It's kind of like I can give you a book that tells you all the things you need to do to play guitar, but that's not a substitute for getting the feeling in your body of what it feels like to hold the guitar, to play the notes and the chords and the solos, right? That's what we need here. So video analysis through movement is very helpful, and analyzing the tone of your voice is very helpful. There's all these things that can be done. But I would say the most important thing is a practice of meditation. But I want to be clear. What most people think of as meditation is for beginners. There's nothing wrong with that. But sitting, closing your eyes, and oming is meant for beginners. It's kind of like for programming languages, might be like BASIC or Logo. Pretty easy to learn and get going. But no one's going to write a massively multiplayer video game in BASIC, are they? You're not going to program the space shuttle with Logo. It doesn't make them bad languages. It just means they're for beginners. And so there are more advanced meditations out there. that are much more effective at bringing us this presence, that slowing down and stopping, to stop doing the things that where you're pushing people and money and life away. And they're much more interesting too, because I always found it kind of boring to be sitting and oming with my eyes closed. No offense if you love it, right? If you love it, go for it. Just like I'm a metalhead, country music, not really my thing. But if you love country music, hey, go crazy, right? Don't let me stop you. And so I'm going to call out what these are right now so you can skip to the good stuff. So number one is, I think one of the best meditations developed is called Open Focus, created by the late Dr. Les Bemy. And I was very lucky to have done all this trainings and got to know him a little bit about 10, 15 years ago. And so long story short, Open Focus is about increasing your nervous system's ability to perceive and interact with the environment. That there's actually multiple different ways we can pay attention. And most people get stuck in just one. It's kind of like if you want to build a house and the only tool you have is a hammer, you're not going to build a very good house, are you? You also need a saw and a screwdriver and all these other things. And so for most of us, the way we pay attention is what he would call narrow objective attention, which is a stress state. It's great when you're crossing the street or taking a math test. Terrible for a lot of the rest of life. And if you get stuck in that state, it will kill your presence. It will push people away. It will prevent you from achieving that next level success. So that's a great one to practice. You can also learn to dissolve pain, and there's a lot of other really cool things that comes with it. So that's one definitely you want to look into. The other is what I learned from my late mentor, Carl. We call it beaming or quantum field entrainment. And it's really hard to describe. You kind of have to do it. But what it's doing is it's gently stretching your ability to perceive your environment so you can see and feel more of what's there. It's roughly analogous to stretching a tight muscle. So maybe you go to yoga class and you can't even get your hands below your knees, and you work at it for a while and you stretch a little, and at some point you can touch your toes. It's kind of like that. But this quantum field meditation is enormously powerful because it directly reconnects you to the life force. It slows down and stops all this unconscious invisible stuff that's screwing up your life and gives you the experience of presence, of awareness, of the flow of energy. And so just to give you a little science metaphor here, did you know that if the whole electromagnetic spectrum, the X-rays, the microwaves, the infrared, the radio waves, all of it, if we were to say arbitrarily that that spectrum is 2,000 miles long, how much of that 2,000 miles does the human eye see? And if you want to go Google it, go for it. But I'll tell you the answer. The answer is less than 1 inch. So your eye sees less than 1 inch out of something that's 2,000 miles long. The whole point of the quantum field entrainment meditation, which has to be done with a facilitator, at least at first. In a few years, you'll learn to do it on your own, but it's very difficult, almost impossible to do from scratch by reading a book. It's kind of like, can you learn to surf by reading a book? No. Can you become a karate master by reading a book? No. You got to practice it, have a teacher, a guide to correct you, to show you the right way. This is the same. It's sometimes called beaming or consciousness shifting. But it's amazing because what it does is when you can slow down and stop all these unconscious, invisible mental processes, everything feels better. The way I would describe it is it's taking the volume of okayness from your life and cranking it up. Everything feels more okay. Your problems seem a little more solvable. Your goals seem a little more achievable. And this is not a mental thing. This is not done with words and language in the head. This is done with the body, the reptilian brain, directly feeling. And when you can turn up how you feel, so everything feels more okay, that's presence. That's charisma. That's what's going to add a zero to your income. And so for those of you going, oh God, Brent, don't go new age on me. Don't make me meditate. I'll just remind you, we talked about Phil Jackson in the first video, sports coach. And he is called the Zen Master because he led his players and his teams through meditations through breathing exercises. They would have group manifestation processes. And he is considered the most successful coach in the history of sports, all sports. The numbers are pretty easy. He coached 17 seasons in the NBA, went to the finals 13 times, and won 10 championships. And this is the modern era, the 90s, the 2000s, not like the 1930s when the Montreal Canadiens won every Stanley Cup for like 20 years. This is the modern competitive era. And so if just a little bit of meditation can turn an NBA team into a champion, not once or twice, but 10 times in 17 years, what do you think it can do for your company? But again, most meditations won't do the trick. They're worth doing. If you like the traditional meditations and find value, please go crazy. But these more advanced meditations, these will blow up your presence. These will take your life, your career, everything to the next level. And hey, I'll say it again. Don't believe anything I'm saying here just because I say it. Have an open mind, have your own experience, and see what happens. I think you'll like it. And I think 20, 30 years in the future, everybody's going to be doing this. But right now, they're not. This can be your secret weapon. If you're interested in learning more about me or maybe doing some work, check the links in the description below. Other than that, that's all I got to say for right now. We got 2 more videos in the series, so buckle your seatbelt. We still have some cool stuff ahead. This is Brent Michael Phillips signing off for video number 6 of 8 on executive presence. Until next time, please take care and namaste.